network security, virtual private networks, site-to-site IPSEC VPN lab on a Cisco router. That will be a pretty advanced lab. I will try and keep it simple. There will be 2 videos dedicated to this lab. In the first one, I will talk about IPSEC VPNs on a Cisco device. In general, I will show you what to expect, how to implement that. Again, this is virtual private networks for beginners. I appreciate you might want to see something more advanced. Maybe you've been working with Cisco for a while, you know the CLI. If not, still I encourage you to watch that. It will give you a very good idea how you can apply IPSEC protocols and everything that we have covered in a real world situation. It will be a very good idea because it will show you if you want to move on. Training like that might be a good idea if you want to start your career in security. Maybe I just managed to encourage you to do that. That's great. And I hope that this video will give you a very good idea about IPSEC VPNs on a Cisco router. That is our topology. There are 2 routers that we are going to use. They are connected directly with a crossover cable. In the real world, of course, you will have the internet over here, right? I want to keep it simple. That's why they are connected directly. It does not change anything. It's much easier to do it that way in a lab. Router 1 has a public IP address 1.1.1.1 and router 2 has a public IP address 1.1.1.2. What do we mean by public? It means it is an IP address that is facing the internet at the moment. In our case, that's how it's done here. They're connected to each other, and that is like having the internet cloud. Behind router 1 there is a local area network, right? It means that this router, I will zoom it in a moment. What I mean by that is that this router, there are 2 ports over here, and 1 port is connected to router 2 and 1 port is for your local devices like printers, laptops, scanners, and so on. Of course, in most cases we'll use a switch because this router has got 2 ports only. This LAN, local area network, is 10.7.7.1 and this one is 192.168.2.1. Let me zoom it in, it will be easier to understand. There are 2 ports, that is this one is F01 and this one is F00. When we go back, you will see that this is one link and this link is here. It is like that. I hope it makes sense. It will, I'll show you that when I connect to these routers. If you have never worked with Cisco before, in most cases we manage a Cisco router or a Cisco device using the CLI command line interface. It means that we do not have a web interface. Well, we do, but it's not good. People don't use it, it's not reliable, and it can break a lot of things. That's why we type all commands. It's like going into Windows, you type CMD, and yeah, I'll show you that. You type CMD, Yeah, and you can type, for instance, a very popular command ipconfig to see and verify your IP address. That's how you manage and configure a Cisco router as well. We'll go to the CLI and we'll make it happen. In this video I will talk about IPSEC VPNs on a Cisco router in general. Again, it is pretty advanced, but I will try and keep it as simple as possible. Okay. I am connected to router 1 using a console cable. What we mean by that is that on this router there is a dedicated port, which is over here, that is labeled console. It means that you can manage this router using a dedicated cable, a dedicated port. And that's what I connected, because when you buy a Cisco router or a Cisco firewall or Cisco switch, in most cases there is no configuration on these devices, and the console port is the only way in most cases to connect to a router and set it up. Let's go back. That is router 1. Here I have a template. That's how we create site-to-site VPNs on a Cisco device. We don't really type everything. As you can see here, we have, 15 lines. These lines are for router 1. I will talk about them in a moment. And this is for router 2. You don't really type everything. The main reason for that is that you can miss something. You can make a mistake. That's why in most cases you will have a template. You will have something that you can use, and you will change a few things. For instance, IP addresses, passwords, maybe encryption, hashing, things like that. Everything else will stay the same. You want to have a template, something that you can use every time you go and set up a new site-to-site VPN. The same applies to setting up a Cisco router in general. We don't really type everything. We use a template. Of course, you have to know all these commands, because that's how we manage Cisco devices. You have to know them anyway, because if you want to change something, even in this document in Notepad, you have to understand what's inside, right? It doesn't change anything. What I'm trying to tell you is that you don't really type crypto map, VPN 10, IPSEC, ISACAM. As you can see, I'm reading this line here. We don't really do that. In most cases, you have a template, you copy and paste and change a few things. Not sure if you remember. I hope that you have watched my previous videos, and that is a prerequisite. I encourage you to do that. In IPSEC we have IK phase 1 and IK phase 2. Here we have IK phase 1, and below it is IK phase 2. IK phase 1, we have a policy. We specify what these routers are going to use for IK phase 1, for the first phase, to exchange the pressured keys, to authenticate, and so on, everything that happens at stage 1. I decided to use encryption 3 days. I am going to use pressured keys. Another option is certificates. And Diffie-Hellman group 5, that is for key exchange group 5. That is just how many bits are going to be used in Diffie-Hellman. Then the next line specifies my peer IP address. That is a sophisticated name, and it just means the other router, right? For instance, if you want to set up a site-to-site VPN, you will have two routers, right, or two firewalls, and you have to know the IP addresses on both ends, and that's where you specify your IP address and your pressured key. In my case, the password at Cisco, the worst password you can come up with. This line specifies your IPSEC phase 2 or IPSEC phase. To remind you, this is used to actually exchange your traffic, your data, right? In my case, I use AES and SHA for my hashing. Please note there is no hashing here because if you don't specify, the default one will be used. If you want, you can specify hashing here. I'll show you that later on. Then we will skip this one for a while and we move to an access list. An access list on a Cisco router allows you to identify what should be matched. And this line is important because you have to tell a Cisco router what is the source and destination IP address for your site-to-site VPN. When we go back here, you will see that we are coming from 10.7.7.1 and we are going to 192.168.2.1. That is an IP address. Network is 0 at the end. That's why when we go back to this guy, we can see source 10.7.7.0 and destination is 192.168.2.0. That is on router 1. On router 2, on this guy, source will be here and destination will be here. I will scroll it down and show you that. It's here on the router 2. We are coming from 192.168.2 and we are going to 10.7.7.0. Now we have to put all these pieces together. You have to tell your Cisco router, oh, this is your peer IP address, the other side. We are going to use these protocols for IPSEC, and this is, sometimes we call it interesting traffic. It means traffic that will be sent across this VPN. The last line is to apply this crypto map under an interface. In my case, it is F00. It's over here, this interface. Okay, that's a template. Let's check router 2. These guys, they have to match. This number is locally significant. You can have more than one policy. It is important to match the policies on both ends. Of course, I changed the IP address. That is 1111 instead of 1112. This guy has to match. Here, everything has to match. Of course, the router's IP address is 1111 instead of 1112. And my access list, interesting traffic. I am coming from 192.168.2.0 and I'm going to 10.7.7.0. Again, the last line, the last command is to apply it under an interface that, in my case, faces the internet, is facing the internet at the moment. Okay, router 1, that's what we have here, and router 2. Let's go back to our diagram. That's F00, F00, they're connected like that, and from F01 there is a cable going to the first local area network, and on router 2 it's the same, there is a cable that goes over there. The idea is that I have a laptop over here, I have a laptop over here, and I have, well, in a way a laptop, I simulate this network, it's not important. I have a device behind this router as well. What I want to do, I want to send a message between these two guys, and that should be sent using my VPN, right? Because it will be encrypted and it should go across my VPN tunnel. There are some show commands that you can use on a Cisco device. I'll show you that. Thanks to that, you can verify that your VPN tunnel is up and you're actually sending all information across your VPN. This is beyond our discussion, but these IP addresses, this one and that one, they are private IP addresses. It means that without a VPN or a leased line or something that you buy from your ISP, you will not be able to access these networks directly anyway. That's why you need a VPN. It's not like an option for you. You need that because these are private IP addresses, and again, it is beyond our discussion, but there are firewalls, there are NAT, network address translation, things in place that will, will make sure that you cannot access it directly. And that makes sense because anyone could do that. That's where I want to leave. In the next video, we are going to apply these commands and send a ping message, make sure that this VPN is up and running. Thank you very much.